All right, guys. Welcome back from spring break. I do apologize that I'm not there today. My grandmother passed away last week, and part of her services are today. So I am not there with you, but I will be back tomorrow. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to get started with chapter 19. So I need you to fill in these charts. I'm going to walk you through it, and then I'm going to answer some unit plan questions. And then at the end, you guys, once we're done, we'll need to create some sort of mnemonic device to remember the bones of the hand. So just the carpal bones, so just the small ones down in here. I'm not concerned that you remember metacarpal, phalange, and all that. Really, it's just for these right here. So you'll need to create a mnemonic, but I'll get back to that here in a little bit. So here we go. Bones of the hand. That's the next chapter, is hand, wrist, forearm, and elbow. Bones of the hand. We'll start up here with A. A is the lunate, and then B is the triquetral bone, and then sitting right on top of B, as you can see, is C, and C is the pisiform, and C is actually a sesamoid bone, which means technically it's a floating bone. As you can see there, it doesn't really float, but it's similar to the sesamoid in your foot. It's not very commonly injured. D, I'm not real sure why we went in this order. But D is the capitate, and E is the hamate. Hamate a lot of times are fractured in boxers because of its location out here when you punch things, or walls. I guess it could be wall. F is the fifth metacarpal. So in the foot we had metatarsals, in the hand we have metacarpal. And all of these right here are the metacarpals. G is the proximal phalanx. You might know this as a phalange. Okay, this whole thing is a phalange. This is the proximal phalanx. H is the middle phalanx, and I is the distal phalanx. Then we have joints. J, K, and L are joints. So J is the DIP joint. I will refer to it as the DIP. You need to know what that is. Distal interphalangeal joint. K is the proximal interphalangeal joint. Now, this is a lot of times confused. People confuse these. They say, why isn't L the proximal interphalangeal joint? Because L isn't between two phalanges. What is L in between? Very good. If you said metacarpal and phalange, you are correct. So it is the metacarpophalangeal joint, MCP. Then we come back down here to these little guys again. M is the trapezium. N is the trapezoid. And O is the scaphoid. Now, if you need to go back, obviously you may go back and look at that again. This is the upper arm. Okay, so what we're dealing with here, we have three main bones: the humerus, the radius, and the ulna. The humerus is P. We studied that when we looked at the shoulder. The ulna is R, and the radius is S. Now notice, this is the lateral side. All right, so the bone that lines up with your thumb, okay, in anatomical position, which is palm facing up, okay, standing your arms at your side, palm facing up. Anatomical position, the radius lines up with your thumb, so it's on the outside. All right, so that's what we're seeing here. And then R is the ulna. Now, Q is what we call the ulnar collateral ligament, or the UCL. Some of you are actually doing your final projects on the UCL. Tommy John surgery, and we'll look at that. I already told you R and S. T is what's called the annular ligament. And then U is the radial collateral ligament. Radial and annular are much less injured than ulnar collateral ligament. And then V is what we call the lateral epicondyle, similar to what we had at the bottom of the femur. And W is the medial epicondyle. Once again, if you need to pause at this point to get this stuff filled in, feel free to do so. So this is just a better look at that chart and what you should have. Okay, now we're going to look at some elbow musculature, and you have a little chart as well on the muscles. So we're going to go ahead and fill that in. You can see here in the back, this is the, this is the anterior view. So here's the bicep, all right, bicep, brachii, bicep meaning two heads. Okay, so there's two parts to the bicep, but here it is. And then you also have two little muscles called the brachialis and the brachioradialis that run on the anterior. And then you can see on the back you have your tricep, okay, the lateral, the long, and the medial head. Those are the three heads of the tricep. And then if we look deep from the front, so if we remove all of this, the brachioradialis and the brachialis, and we look deep here, you can see the supinator. This doesn't take a rocket scientist. Its function is going to be supination. And the pronator teres, which is a pronator. Okay, and we'll review these actions when I get back. But those are the kind of the basics. So here's your muscle chart. So the three main flexors are going to be those first three on your chart. Biceps, brachii, the brachialis, and the brachioradialis. Those are your main elbow flexors. Okay, and that is bending of the elbow. You really only have one elbow extender that's really powerful, and that's your tricep brachii. It has three heads. Remember, it's a pretty big muscle. And then you have a supinator, which is for forearm supination. The pronator teres, which is for forearm pronation. And then you have this muscle called the anconeus, which is also an elbow extender. It's a weaker elbow extender, but it does assist in the extension of the elbow. Once again, pause if you need to, but I'm going to go ahead and move on. Okay, so here's another look at some more muscles. You can see here's that little anconeus muscle. It's kind of down actually distal to your elbow. And then I want you to notice something here. This is the hand. Okay, this is from the front. So this is going to be your palm is going to be up. Like I would be giving that person a high five right now. Notice that all the flexors, so flexor pollicus longus, flexor carpi ulnaris, flexor carpi radialis. Okay, these are the flexors. They're going to be on that side of the hand. And if you think about that, curling your fingers, all right, that's going to occur because those muscles and tendons are on that side of your hand. Extensors are going to be on the back side. So, like the I don't even know how to describe it without pointing, I'm sorry. Not the palmar surface. So this is the palmar surface, the palm of your hand. This is like the dorsal surface, the other side of your hand. And you'll see here, your extensors are here. Also notice pollicus, this word pollicus, we're going to come back to that here in a little bit. But if you look at like extensor digiti minimi, think about it, extensor digiti minimi, it probably extends something really small. So it extends your fifth finger. All right, so these muscles are kind of named based on what they do. Okay, we're only going to answer some of the unit plan questions. I'm not going to answer all of them. Some of these you will need to answer on your own, but what you are responsible for tomorrow, by the end of class actually. So if I have some time and I go in and grade this stuff, the charts and these questions need to be completed on your unit plan. Okay. Number 2 asks you, what is paresthesia? Okay, paresthesia is like that pins and needles tingling kind of feeling that sometimes you get. Maybe if you fall asleep on your hand, that's paresthesia, but some people can get it and it's like permanent, or semi-permanent, and that they need something to fix it. So paresthesia is just that pins and needles kind of tingling and numbing. What is the scientific name of the thumb? That is the word pollicus, Pollicis. So if you see like abductor pollicus, that means that it abducts the thumb. If you remember what the big toe was called, think about it. Hallucis. If you said hallucis, Hallucis, you'll see the similarities there. The 8 little bones of the wrist are commonly referred to as the carpals. The carpals. They're the little guys down there in your hand and wrist. Number 6, which 3 bones make up the elbow joint? Well, you should be able to tell me that at this point, so I'm going to give you a second to think about it. ulna, radius, humerus. Those are the 3 bones that make up the elbow joint. Number 7, which 2 bones are connected by the PIP joint, the proximal interphalangeal? Okay, that's going to be the proximal phalange or the proximal phalanx and the middle phalanx. The distal will connect the middle to the distal phalanx. Okay, but the proximal interphalangeal joint right there, the PIP, that connects the proximal phalanx to the middle phalanx. And then number 8, what is the smallest bone in the wrist? That's the pisiform. It's not the smallest bone in the body, but it is the smallest bone in the wrist. Okay, that's all I got for you on unit plan questions. All right, so you should have your unit plan, those questions, these 6 questions should be complete. You should have the charts done, both of the identifying charts and then the muscle chart. And then the last thing that you're going to do today in class is you're going to create a mnemonic. So I do not care. I'm going to go back to this slide here. I do not care where you start, but I would recommend you start somewhere. So if you want to start, if you know that you're going to start by the thumb, then you probably want to start with the trapezium. And then you can go trapezium, trapezoid, capitate, hamate, and go all the way around, or you can go the other way. I don't care what order you go in. Just pick an order, take the first letter, and come up with a phrase that's easy for you to remember. Or if you want to write a song, I don't care. Something that makes it easy for you to remember. Now, a few rules on this. 1, of course, it must be school appropriate. You have to write this down and give it to the substitute before you leave today. Okay? So, it's got to be school appropriate. I'm going to read it. 2, it can't be something I can Google and find. I better not Google this, which I will do. I'm going to Google so I know that you didn't Google it. Okay, I'm going to Google it. Come up with your own. I don't want to read something that somebody else came up with. I want to read something that you came up with so that you will remember it. And then 3, I better not see a lot of repeats in the class. You may work with one other person, which means that you and one other person should have the same, but I shouldn't see repeats, okay? I shouldn't see the same phrase over and over and over again in both my classes. Make sure that you're working on your own, being creative. When you finish with that, turn it in. If you have finished everything that I have asked you to do for today, you may work on work for other classes or sit quietly. Please, 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 please be respectful. Do what you're asked. Don't make a lot of noise. And please get your work done. Okay, I really, really, really want to come back tomorrow to a great report from a sub. I really don't want to come back and have to deal with discipline issues or hear that you guys didn't work and didn't use your time wisely. So please get all this done. If you do, you may sit quietly. You may play on your phone. You may do whatever you need to do to get caught up. But do that. Okay. Thank you for your attention. And I will see you guys tomorrow.